Okay guys, in one of the previous videos I had talked about the posterior chain. Most of us, because the posterior chain is not visible to us, we are hardly aware of what we are working out on, and the back muscles of the back, the spinal erectors, the glutes, hips, your hamstrings, calves and everything. So but I've talked to a lot of friends and a lot of people, and I've come to a conclusion that people are still unaware of even their interior, what lies in front and how to actually work them. So I'll just give a brief on what lies in front of you and what is there in your interior chain, right from your head to your toe. So to start off, we have the neck. In the neck we have neck flexor, which is required to flex the neck. This is extension, this is flexion. Then we go on to a very important area which most people don't know what they are working in. So this is your chest. So the chest is made of minor chest, pec minor and pec major. Chest is also known as pec. So we have the pec major, which is the entire chunk of the chest, and we have pec minor, which you see here, it's inside the pec major, but it attaches to the back of the shoulder, the scapula. So mostly the pec major is trained with your all kinds of pushing movements, your horizontal push, incline press. You know, you have two sections here. We have the upper chest, we have the lower chest. So you mostly inclines are used for the upper chest, and the rest of the pushing and flies are used for the angles are used for hitting the different areas of the chest. Now the pec minor is one of the most tightest of the chest muscles, because it attaches to the scapula. It has a very big role to play, okay, in when you're extending your arm, when you're rotating your shoulders, and when you are kind of extending it up to a certain degree. Since it is present at a 45-degree angle, it's very important to stretch the pecs like this to release it. You know, otherwise all kinds of stretches, they do work, you know, different kinds of angles, they do work, but 45 degrees is where you get the maximum stretch on the chest, because all the fibers are running this way. So when you go or at a 45 degree, you also stretch the pec minor. Moving on, we have the shoulders, the front part of the shoulder, the front delt. Shoulder is also known as the delt. So you work them with front raises this way, even with presses, the military press. Then we come to the serratus, which is this muscle. If you see someone who has a good body fat percentage, a low body fat percentage, you see these fibers running here. This is the serratus. When you do a push-up or when you do a ab roll, you work the serratus as well. You know, this is actually the lat, the wing, and between the wing and the abs, you have the serratus, which helps you to extend your scapula, retract your scapula. Then we have the rectus abdominis, the most popular of the all, the abs. That is what we call. It's a layer on the outside of the stomach, you can say, and it is made up of something like this. So we have a 6-pack, and some people have 8 as well. It hardly matters, because the function of the abs is to crunch, to roll, to crouch, and also to protect the spine. So to protect the spine, you have more than the abs inside. You have the transverse abdominis, the TVA, which is lying beneath, and it gives you a big sheath of layer. It's a natural weight belt that protects your spine. Then moving on, we have here we have biceps, which is seen from the front. So everyone knows how to train the biceps. You curl, and you do hammer curls, you do even pull-ups, all the pulling movements. Then we have wrist extensors, the forearms. The front of the forearms here. This is wrist flexion, this is extension. So once you extend, this is how you work your forearms. So these are your extensors. Then moving on, we have the part of the abs, so-called abs, is the oblique. The sides of the abs that we see, two lines that are running here. They are majorly worked with side raises, side crunches, all the anti-lateral flexion movements. If you hold a weight towards your side, you are working the other side, that way. Then we have another most popular thing among youngsters, the Adonis belt, which runs like this. And many people who have very low fat percentage, you see the Adonis belt very prominent. And it is also part of genetics, because even I've seen people who have very low percentage of fat, 6-8%, and they still don't have that Adonis belt. So it also depends on the genetics, but the Adonis belt is majorly a part of the transverse abdominis, the inner core muscles, the inner abdominals that protects your spine. So it runs down to your pelvis and attaches at the back of your spine. Here it's very important that we have another very important muscle running right from the thigh to the back of the spine, that is the hip flexor. I have talked a lot about the hip flexors in many of the videos and how they are playing a role with your lower back pain, with the functioning of your sprinting mechanics, your squat, in general the functioning of the body, the posture. So hip flexor runs from the thigh to the back of the spine and is actually very tight because we sit a lot. And I'll put a reference below. You can see how do we fix our Donald Duck posture, the anterior pelvic tilt, and the role of the hip flexors in lower back pain in general. Moving on, we have the TFL or the tensor fascial lati. Don't worry about the technical names. You just understand that this is the TFL. It's towards the side of the thigh, and it's also very tight. You know, mostly people only know how to release the hip flexor, release the IT bands here, but joining the IT bands and side of the hip flexors is your TFL, and basically it helps you to extend your leg, move your leg up to sprint. Just like the hip flexor, this TFL also contracts when you're squatting, when you're sprinting. So, and when you're sitting also. So this one is also very tight. So you have to release it regularly with a foam roller or the trigger ball, lacrosse ball, tennis ball. Then we have the very important, very big, major muscle in the body, the quadriceps, the quads of the thighs. We have the thighs or the quadriceps. With quad, you have 4 different muscles joining together, and that is why it is a big chunk of muscle in the thigh, in the front of the thigh. The most important role that this muscle plays, especially towards the inner thigh, which joins the adductors inside, is your teardrop muscle. And the teardrop muscle has a major role to play with your knee health. Okay, usually if people don't have strong quadriceps, they compensate with the knee doing most of the work. Okay, and the knee isn't really made for heavy loads, so you have to build up your quads very smartly, build up your calves also very smartly, so that this area, which is the joint, is protected. And that is why muscles are functional. Because if someone argues with you that I don't have muscles but I'm healthy, that is fine. But if you have muscles, that does not really mean that that's only for vanity. It protects you in many ways. You know, if you compare that person with someone who has a good lot of muscle and strength as well, they will definitely be far more healthier, and they'll go a long way as compared to the person who does not have muscle. Because muscle has a lot of savior properties. You know, they save your joints, they burn fat, they make you healthier, they make you look good, lots of it. So that is why. So this is a teardrop, and it helps you with the health of the knee. Even the side of the quads, you know, If you want to work the teardrop, people who do leg extensions with the machines usually they can put their feet apart and then do it. If you want to work the outer thigh, then put your feet together. Arnold, Franco, those guys used to put their legs closer and then squat to build the outer thigh, put their legs apart and then squat. Sumo deadlifts, work the teardrop muscle. So that is how you work this area of the thigh. Then you have the kneecap, very important joint in the body and usually not taken care of because health comes at the last. So knees are meant to be stable. If you don't have proper core stability, proper pelvic alignment and proper ankle mobility, your knees are going to compensate, and that is where knee pain happens. So you have to be healthier, build muscle, build joint structure and stay healthy. Moving on, in the end we have tibia. Tibia is opposite of the calves. If this is your ankle, if you are extending your ankle while in jumping, running, you are working your calves. If you are flexing your ankle, just like the wrist, you are working this area, the front of the leg, that is your tibia. So if this is your leg, you move your leg up, you are working your tibia. And it's very important to do tibia raises. John Meadows has a few videos on it and I learned from him. With the calves, because if you're only doing calves, then you're only working 50%. You have to work the entire body. Just like you work the chest and you work the back equally or more, you work the calves and you work equally the tibia, if not more. So I think I've covered almost all the major aspects of the anterior chain. So if you have any questions regarding this or anything else with respect to fitness, structure, integrity, strength, conditioning, please reach out.